I'm getting over a cold, so please excuse my man voice for this entire video. I don't know why I never thought of this. I don't know why I never thought of just sitting down on my YouTube channel and making a beginner guitar lesson that I wish that I had whenever I first started learning guitar. And maybe, it stems from me being like worried that I'm not bright enough in guitar to be able to teach other people. Maybe I feel like I'm inadequate. I'm not, knowledgeable enough. I'm not good enough. And I think it ultimately has to stem from that because I constantly get a lot of comments from you guys who want to learn, who want to know. I always get people like asking for helpful hints and tips on when it comes to like the basics of guitar. But for some reason, I just never thought of sitting down and making a video. It wasn't until recently I started watching this YouTuber named Nicole rafiee, who is incredible. I'm obsessed with her content. I think she's so funny, and I know that she's gonna blow up to be really, really big someday very soon.
So last semester I took a class called Media Criticism End of the World, and it was, you guessed it, about the end of the world. In it, we talked about what would happen after a nuclear bomb went off, and one of the first things that would happen is a bright white flash. That's how I feel every single morning when I turn this light on. This is literally me getting flashbacks.
Ever since I've been watching her, probably within like the past month, I've just been really obsessed with just all the content that she's been putting out. So I followed her on Instagram, and she put on her Instagram story that she was looking for a video that would help her like with the basics of guitar. So I like jokingly messaged her. I said, hey, if you need a girl that can like help you, like I'm that, like I'll help you. And she just ended up liking the comment. But me, being me, I took that as I'm gonna make a whole video dedicated to the basics of guitar for Nicole rafiee. Is this psycho? Is this stalkerish? Is this weird?
Yes.
Do I care?
Yes.
But regardless, I'm sitting here, I'm gonna make the video, and I'm gonna just, I don't know, I think it'd be really good to have on my YouTube channel. A lot of you guys ask, and I just want I want this to be fun. I want this to be a learning experience for me too. This is like ultimately like the extreme basics, like when you're first learning, and I want you guys to know before going into this. Learning a new instrument is hard. It's gonna be a lot of work, a lot of hours that you're gonna have to put in to just educating yourself and getting used to it. When it comes down to learning a new instrument, it's easy to memorize things. It's easy to memorize like fingering positions and stuff like that. But it's gonna come down to you to keep pushing yourself to doing it so you get that muscle memory, so you get that strength in your fingers to like be good at it. And like progress doesn't happen overnight. You just have to keep at it. You have to kind of just put a lot of time into it. So I want to like put that out in the universe. I know a lot of people are like, well, my fingers are really small and it just really hurts. And like, it's gonna hurt because like, especially if you're playing with like a steel string guitar, you're like on metal. Your fingers are pushing down on metal. So like guitar hurts, and like a lot of instruments when you first learn how to play, it hurts. But the more that you like play it, the more you get used to it, the more it feels so great to learn new things. And I'm still learning. I'm nowhere near being like an advanced player. I would still consider myself somewhat of an intermediate player. I'm still learning each and every day. So I just want to put that out there that it's going to be hard work, but if you push yourself, you can absolutely do anything. And it's never too late to learn. Last semester in college, I took a guitar class, and it was a beginner guitar class because I just wanted to be able to learn the basics that I never learned because I never really, my cat's just walking. Oh, baby, she got so scared. So yeah, I want to kind of give you guys a background. I'm going to pull out my guitar and we can just get started in the whole lesson. So to start off, we're going to start off with the headstock. The headstock is the very top of the guitar where the tuning pegs are. These little pegs that you see here, they're tuning pegs. They're what you use whenever you're trying to tune your guitar. If you're trying to tune it up or if you're trying to tune it down, that's like the tuning pegs. And so each string has their own tuning pegs. There are 6 strings in the guitar, and that's all located on the head. And anytime you're trying to tune your guitar, anytime you're trying to change strings in your guitar, you're always going to bring the strings up and you're going to wrap it around on these little knobs. I'm not sure what these are called. I think they're just part of the tuning peg. But you kind of just, you twirl it around there and you tune it. And like this is the primary spot for tuning. The headstock is where you tune. This is such an important part of the guitar. So yeah, let's jump into the next part of the framework of the guitar. We'll do the neck of the guitar. This whole long part that you see here, I think my guitar goes down to 24 frets because it's a cutaway, so it cuts down here. So it goes all the way down here. It's a pretty long guitar, but the neck of the guitar is where you play. That's where you put your fingers on the strings to like play a chord, to play, individual things. Like that's where you put your fingers on the neck. So the neck is divided by these little bars that are on the neck, and these little bars are called frets. And so as you can see, there's a bunch of these little frets that go down, and on the side of the neck, on a lot of guitars, you see these dots. And so you typically see these dots on the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, the 9th fret, and then the 12th fret. And the reason it goes from 9 to 12 is because 12 is where the octave begins again, where everything's basically mirrored. And so typically the 12th fret is indicated by 2 dots. You'll see a lot of times it's 2 dots. And that's just indicating that the whole process is starting over when it comes to notation wise. And so what I mean by that is that the guitar itself goes incrementally by half steps. So it's the same if you're playing a piano. So if you're playing a piano and you see the notes, each note is a half step from each other. And so like if I'm playing an open E on my guitar, this is an open E. If I'm putting my finger on the 1st fret, that in turn is an F because it's a half step. And so if you look at like the notes of a piano, if you know what the piano notes are, they are the same thing on guitar. So you can really just kind of get the same thing out of it on the guitar. And it's really important if you do know piano to apply that knowledge to a guitar because they both work pretty much similarly, I guess you can say. So if you really look at the notes, and then we can go through the notes on the most top string here, which is the E string. This open, it's E, then it's F. Then it's F sharp, then it's G, then it's G sharp, then it's A, then it's A sharp, then it's B, then it's C, then it's C sharp, then it's D, then it's D sharp, then it's E, and that's where the whole process starts right over. And so that's what I mean by the mirroring, where it hits the 12th fret is the same thing as playing open. So like that whole section is mirrored down here. So basically when you're learning to play guitar, I would suggest learning each string and each note on each string up until the 12th fret. Because once you know up to the 12th fret, everything after that just kind of mimics itself, or it mirrors itself. And so as you can see, when I was like kind of going over the notes, like E, then it's F. There's no such thing as an E sharp. Or the same when it's B to C, there's no such thing as a B sharp. B sharp doesn't exist. B sharp is technically C. And the same with E sharp. E sharp's technically F. And so when you're playing guitar, you obviously play with your fingers. And your fingers have a signed number per finger. So your pointer finger is 1, your middle finger is 2, your ring finger is 3, and your pinky's 4. Kind of like if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's really important for when you do end up learning songs in the future. If you start reading tabs and stuff, it'll tell you what fingers will go where. And that's kind of like what, you have to look at. Like, oh, the 3rd finger goes on the 3rd fret of the A string. And so you know that your 3rd finger is your ring finger. And you kind of start doing that. So also, when it comes to playing, a lot of people don't know where necessarily to play on the frets. People think that you should play directly on the metal bar, which is not the case. Don't do that at all. Don't play on the metal bar. That's not what you're supposed to do. When you play guitar, push it down on the middle. I like the middle. I just think most comes out of the middle. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people say the more closer you are to the fret, the more it is in tuned with that note. But I really like just playing directly in the middle of each fret, and you get the sound that you want out of it. We're gonna go down to the next part of the guitar, which is the body. The whole section right here is the body of a guitar. If it's an acoustic guitar, it's typically a hollowed body, which means that it's very hollowed inside because it's reverberating and creating the noise. So a lot of acoustic guitars have a giant body because it's producing a big sound. The sound waves are bouncing off of the wood and coming out, and this bright, big sound. And so this whole section is the body, and this is like the hole that you play out of. And this part's really important because this is where you strum the guitar out of. This is where you start making your music. This is where you start playing. And a lot of people, you know, have conflicting opinions on if you should play with a pick or not, because a lot of people play with picks. And like picks are really cool to play with. They're very useful, they're very helpful, especially when you don't want these fingers to hurt. They're really like kind of like an easy way to kind of get out of, you know, using your fingers. Or if you're playing heavier stuff, if you're into like hard rock, a lot of people play with picks because you can go faster. And like with your hand, you really can't go that fast. But if you're like learning the basics of a guitar, if you're learning like just simple chord progressions and you want it to be like really nice, I recommend playing with your fingers. I learned with the pick and it was really hard to unlearn with the pick. Please don't be mean. Don't learn with the pick. Because once you get used to playing with your fingers, it's a lot easier to kind of be able to do different like strumming patterns or different plucking patterns. And once you're able to get better at plucking, it's so easy and it's so nice. And when it comes to guitar, it's really, really helpful. And this is cool if you're learning heavier stuff and if you're starting on electric guitar. That's the only time I really recommend learning with a pick. But learn with your fingers, use your fingers, please. I'm telling you, because you don't want to get a bad habit and it'd be hard to get out of it, like it was hard to get out of it for me. I'm still even working on getting out of the bad habit of playing with the pick. But I'm getting better each and every day that I practice. But please, don't learn with the pick. Learn with your fingers, learn by strumming. Also, when it comes to strumming, try your best to make your wrist as loosey-goosey as possible. You don't want to be stiff. You don't want to be, I see a lot of people when they're new, they like, I can't even mimic it. It's like a robot. I don't know, you want to like, you know, like you want to be very loosey with it. You want to be able to kind of strum and like be like a flow rather than like a stoic robot, you know? There needs to be like a nice, like you're feeling the music, you're into it, like a wave. Move your wrists, don't move your arms. When you're strumming, I recommend strumming over the hole. When you strum over the hole, you kind of get a brighter sound out of it, as opposed to like strumming up here. I don't know, just it makes more sense to go over the hole. It's just better. So, with that being said, we're gonna go a little bit more down on the body of the guitar. I don't know why this whole thing is so sexual, like the hole going down on the body of the guitar. It's just the G string, I'm just over it. And we're gonna go to the bridge. And the bridge is important because it has these little pegs that hold the string down. They're the pins that hold the string down, and they kind of are what keep the strings attached to your guitar. So if you ever change a string in the future, if you guys want me to do like a video where I teach how I change my strings, I can do that. But you kind of put the string down in that hole and you push it down with the pin and it's being held down. So there's a lot that goes into this bridge. There's even a lot that goes into that white part that you see right here. There's a lot that goes into it. And I can go and I can explain all the specifics, but I don't want to like dwell too much on things that aren't important. I just kind of want to give you guys what I think is the best advice when it comes to learning guitar. So with that being said, that's kind of the sum of the whole like guitar in the most basic form, but I just want you guys to know like the headstock, the neck, the body, the hole, and the bridge, and just like know like that's the main functions of the guitar, and that's what you want to kind of focus on when you're thinking of what a guitar is for as like a whole. And I know that took up a lot of time, but it's really important that you know, because just in the long run, it's just going to be so much better when you're able to kind of identify, you know, things on the guitar and what their functions are. So the string names are fun because this means we're going to kind of get into tuning. So the main string closest to you is a low E. Then the string after that is an A. Then the string after that is a D. Then the string after that is a G string. Then the string after that is a B. Then the last string, the string furthest from you, is also an E, but that's the high E. So you have the low E and you also have the high E. For me, I just kind of memorized it like E, A, D, G, B, E. Like I just just kind of snaps for me. But I know a lot of people like mnemonic devices. So if you're interested in a mnemonic device, a lot of people do Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie, which is very morbid, very sad. But I mean, I guess it's a good way to remember it. Like Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. Regardless, there's a bunch of mnemonic devices that you can use to memorize the strings. Each person, you know, to each their own. I just kind of memorized it, E-A-D-G-B-E. But if you need something, there's no shame in needing something to memorize it. But that's just kind of how I memorize it. And also, when you're looking at strings, the string that's furthest from you is technically considered the top string if you're looking at a tab chart. And so a tab chart looks like this. So if you see the string at the very top, that is the string that is furthest from you. And that's string 1. And then going backwards to string 2, string 3, string 4, string 5, and string 6. String 6 is the string that's closest to you. So on the very bottom, that's the one that is closest to you. I know it's confusing because it's kind of backwards to the way that you're seeing it from above. So I know that's confusing, but when you're looking at tabs, that's how it is. And so for tuning, there's a bunch of different tunings that you can do, but beginner guitar, basic guitar, is standard tuning. Standard tuning is what you want to do if you're learning guitar right off the bat. You can fuck with like open tunings and different style of tunings, maybe even your own made up tuning. You can fuck with that on your own free time, but typically if you're learning music, it's gonna exist with standard tuning. And so if you have a tuner, those are really, really good and really easy for beginners to do. My guitar has a built-in tuner, but I don't have a battery in it. So I'm gonna be listening along. There's a Fender website that plays the note out loud, and I just kind of match pitch with it. If you're not so good at this, it's okay. I wasn't when I first started either, but I kind of just like hear the string and I tune with it. So when I hear that it sounds like close, then I like stick with it. So that's E, that's A, that's D, that's B, and that last one is E. So once you have all those tuned up, it should sound like this. And an easy technique when it comes to tuning is to stick to the 5th fret. So the 5th fret is that second dot typically that you see. Just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you want to play in the middle. So if you want a technique to know if you're tuned right, you could start on that 5th fret, hold your finger on that top string that's closest to you, the E string, play it, and then play the string after it open. And if those notes are the same, then it's in tune. Then you do the same thing again, but on this 5th string, the A, put your finger in the middle, and then play the string right after it. Open. So it has to be open. So then that is tuned because it's the same. Then the process is again the same. The 5th fret on the 4th string. All right, and so that's tuned. And then so now it gets weird because now you go to the 3rd string, but you go to the 4th fret instead of the 5th fret. And it sounds the same. And then lastly, you go to the 2nd string on the 5th fret, and that seems a little weird to me, so I'm gonna adjust it and see. And so that's how like you can kind of do that in that sense if you're just trying to make sure like it's in tune properly. Finally, the big part, we're gonna get to playing on the strings. So hopefully you kind of know each string now, you kind of know the name, know that they go by half steps. So this is low E, so then E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and so you kind of know that. And if I could suggest anything in the world, just learn the notes for that top string. if at bare minimum, that top string, because that's kind of bare minimum what I know. And I know that I should push myself to learn the other ones, but it's just, I don't know, I never really think about it. So bare minimum, just learn those notes, learn what they're called. This is an exercise that I've done in every I had guitar classes in high school and I had a guitar class in college. And this is the exercise that my teacher, my professor always did and they always recommend doing. And that's playing on the very biggest string and just play down the frets. Do play with all 4 of your fingers because it's important to kind of get that motion of your fingers down. So just do 1, 2, 3, 4. Think of 1, 2, 3, 4. Play it on the 4 frets of the low E. So do that. And then just do that down each string. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And so constantly do that and practice because I know it's silly and I know it's annoying, but keep pushing yourself to do that. Do it like 20 times, 40 times, because your fingers are gonna hurt, but this is how you get muscle memory with your fingers moving. And it's also how you kind of get calluses start building up on your fingers. So you do it backwards. Or do that. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of fuck with how you play with it. Just have fun. But it's easy because it's all 4 right in front of you and you're able to get dexterity in all of your fingers. When I first learned, I didn't do stuff like this. So my pinky, I didn't play with my pinky for like 4 years when I first started playing guitar. I would just play all my chords without my pinky. My pinky would just float out in space, but that's not good. Learn how to use your pinky, get dexterity on it, get calluses on it, get better with using your pinky. So if we're playing a C chord, I think the C chord is the perfect chord to start off with. It's a cowboy chord that's very common in a bunch of songs. A bunch of songs are in C major or A minor, and the C chord is constantly being used all the time. So please, I think this is the one that you should learn. Out of all of them, this is definitely a difficult one, but it's really important that you learn it. Make sure when you're playing to keep your hands up, your wrist up. You don't want to keep your fingers down like this because if you do, you're going to obviously mute the strings. You want to keep it up. So you want your wrist to be kind of parallel with the neck. So you don't want it to be behind, you want it to be underneath. So that's a C chord, and that's what I want you guys to play. So you'll get your 3rd finger, which is your ring finger, on the 3rd fret of the A string. And then you'll get your 2nd finger, your middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the D string, and your 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string. So, and it's gonna hurt like a fucking bitch. It's gonna hurt really bad. But once you get down and once you get used to it, it makes this beautiful sound. So that's a C chord, and that's really fun to play. Keep practicing it. And so the next one we're gonna go to, the next cowboy chord is an E minor. I'm only gonna be teaching you 3 chords today, but it's important that you learn them. E minor is probably the easiest chord you'll ever learn. You're gonna get your middle finger and your ring finger, so your 2nd and your 3rd finger, and you're gonna put your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. So that's an E minor. So that one's fun. So what I recommend is, now that you know those 2 chords, you learn how to go back and forth between the C and the E minor. And when you're learning new chords, just constantly do this. Constantly practice your fingering, practice how you're learning, and make sure you're able to go back and forth between the chords. Because when you can do this, then it gets so much easier and you can start playing. right, and so the next chord that I'm going to teach you is the G chord. The G chord is really fun. This one's pretty difficult, I'd say. You're using all 4 of your fingers. There are cheat ways to do the G chord. Don't do it the cheat way. Do it the hard way. Learn it. Don't gain bad habits. So the G chord is this position. So you get your second finger, you put it on the 3rd fret of your low E. You get your first finger, 2nd fret of the A, and then you get your 3rd finger, your ring finger, 3rd fret of the B, and then you get your pinky, your 5th finger, on the 3rd fret of the high E. So that's a G. And it's such a pretty chord. G's are really fun, and so are C's. So now that you know all 3 of those, you can kind of while you're doing this, practice your strumming. Practice kind of feeling it. There's not really a right or wrong way to strum, just strum down with use your thumb, I guess, primarily. So that's the basics of guitar. That's kind of what I want you guys to just think about. Play it over and over and over again until it's muscle memory. That's what I did whenever I was first learning chords, and it helped me significantly. I just kept going back and forth between the chords, being able to just really process what I was playing. And even once you get tired, take a second, take 10 minutes, take an hour, and when you get back to it, you'll start realizing that your memory, your muscle memory, is gonna just kick in, and things will get easier each and every time you play it. So please, don't be so hard on yourself. Your fingers are gonna hurt. You might think your fingers are too small. You'll come up with a million reasons on why you shouldn't be playing guitar. But once you get used to it, once you kind of get through everything, it's so worth it, and it is the best thing in the whole world. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope Nikki Nasty enjoyed this YouTube tutorial, and I hope this helped her. If she is seeing this, who knows? I'm not sure. But I really just wanted to make this YouTube tutorial because it's important, and I really want you guys to learn guitar, especially if you're really passionate about it. It's something that's really fun for me, and I love, love, love playing. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. First, thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You guys are all incredible, each and every one of you. Keep me afloat every single month. And second, I want to give a big thank you to my friend Chris, who always provides such amazing music for my YouTube channel. I'll leave the link to his music down in the description. Anytime you hear background music, it's typically from Chris because he's a talented musician and such a great friend of mine. I've known him since middle school. Literally such an incredible person. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this whole video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, Nicole. Have a great one.